He captured light in paintings better than anyone who's ever lived, and yet in the end, still couldn't keep his house warm. Rembrandt van Rijn was born 15 July 1606, the son of a humble miller. He was one of 9 children, but the only one his parents sent to university because they saw a spark in him worth investing in. He quickly abandoned his books to apprentice as a painter instead. Thank goodness. If you look at his life through the lens of tarot, his entire journey is defined by 2 cards, the Sun and the 5 of Pentacles. By his early 20s, Rembrandt moved to Amsterdam and set up shop. This was his Sun era, a time of absolute radiance, mastery, and recognition. He became the go-to portrait artist for the wealthy merchant class. He ran one of the largest workshops in Holland. Dozens of students passed through, including Fabricius and Flink, who both went on to become major painters in their own right. In 1634, he married Saskia van Eulenburg, a cousin of his art dealer, and for a while you could say his reality matched his art. They bought a massive mansion in the Jodenbraestraat area of Amsterdam. He was famous, wealthy, and spent money like it grew on trees, filling his home with global antiquities, rare prints, and exotic armor. But the sun always sets. Saskia and Rembrandt had 4 children, but only their son Titus survived infancy. And in 1642, Saskia died, just months after he completed his masterpiece, The Night Watch. This tragedy was the quiet start of Rembrandt's descent. His personal life dissolved into something like a 17th century soap opera. He began an affair with Titus's nurse, which ended in a bitter public lawsuit when Rembrandt dumped her for their new housekeeper, Hendrikje Stoffels. Hendrikje was publicly dragged before the church and accused of living in sin. Why didn't Rembrandt just marry her? Well, he was dealing with a catch-22 legality. Saskia's will stipulated that if Rembrandt remarried, he would immediately lose his access to her inheritance. Trapped in this personal darkness, Rembrandt's art took a brief but bizarre, mystical turn. Around 1652, he created an etching that still drives art historians a little mad. It's nicknamed Faust, and it shows a scholar in a dark study staring at a floating, radiant disc covered in actual Kabbalistic symbols, the kind that were used in protective amulets. Nobody knows what Rembrandt meant by it. He never titled it. He never explained it. He was a man obsessed, on canvas and off, with the exact moment illumination breaks into the darkness. The reckless spending and personal chaos caught up with him. Enter 5 of Pentacles. Rembrandt declared insolvency. The courts auctioned off his beloved mansion, his massive art collection, and everything he owned just to pay his debts. To keep creditors from seizing his future paintings, Hendrikje and Titus had set up a clever legal loophole. They ran an art dealing business and technically hired Rembrandt as an employee. He kept painting in these more modest, quieter years, creating some of his most raw, emotionally honest self-portraits. But the losses kept coming. Hendrikje died in 1663. Titus died in 1668. And a year later, in 1669, Rembrandt died. He was buried in a rental, unmarked, communal grave in Westerkerk. Because he couldn't afford a permanent plot, his bones were eventually exhumed and discarded. The world's greatest master of light was buried in the dark. The 5 of Pentacles represents being left out in the cold, walking past a lit window that isn't yours anymore, locked out of the very warmth you spent your life creating. But the 5 of Pentacles isn't really a card about being poor. It's a card about the world's ledger not matching your actual worth, and about how long it could take for the correction to come through. Rembrandt died owning almost nothing, but 350 years later, he's never stopped owning the room. Ziltromen, moonflowers.